The rain had stopped just minutes before sunset, leaving the streets of Maple Grove slick and glimmering under the fading light. Inside a modest, time-worn house at the edge of town, Ethan Cole stood in front of the kitchen counter, staring at a cracked dinner plate in his hand. He wasn't a man who complained much. Life had already thrown him enough reasons to. But tonight, something felt different. He was anxious, uneasy even. His 10-year-old son Noah had just announced that he'd invited a woman over for dinner. A woman Ethan didn't know. A woman his son met at the local park. Noah's voice still echoed in his head, cheerful and innocent. "Dad, she helped me when my soccer ball rolled into the street. I told her you make the best spaghetti in the world, so she's coming tonight?" Ethan had almost dropped the plate then. After all, strangers weren't something he invited into their lives easily. Not anymore. Not since everything changed 3 years ago when his wife Sarah passed away suddenly, leaving him to raise Noah alone. Life since then had been a long, uneven road of quiet grief and survival. He'd buried himself in his mechanic job, working extra shifts to make ends meet, while Noah filled their small home with laughter that Ethan feared he didn't deserve. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected connections, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us spread stories that heal hearts. That evening, as the clock neared 6, Ethan wiped his hands nervously on a dish towel. The kitchen was small but spotless, the smell of tomato sauce filling the air. He'd even set the table with their best dishes, the ones that hadn't been chipped or mismatched. Noah had insisted on putting a small vase of dandelions in the center, flowers he'd picked from the yard. Ethan glanced at the reflection in the kitchen window. His dark hair was flecked with gray at the temples, his shirt slightly wrinkled from work. He wasn't sure why he cared, but he brushed his hair back anyway. Maybe it was because it had been a long time since someone other than his son sat at their dinner table. At exactly 6, a gentle knock came at the door. Noah darted ahead, his little sneakers squeaking on the wooden floor. Ethan followed slowly, heart pounding with a mix of curiosity and dread. When Noah opened the door, a tall woman stood there, holding a small paper bag and smiling warmly. She looked to be in her mid-30s, elegant but approachable, with chestnut brown hair tied neatly in a low bun and kind eyes that caught the light. She wore a soft blue blouse tucked into black slacks, her posture confident but not intimidating. "Hi, you must be Noah's dad," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Claire Rivers. Thank you for having me." Ethan blinked, momentarily frozen. Her handshake was firm, her smile genuine, but something about her presence carried an air of calm authority, like someone used to being in control of rooms far larger than his living room. "Who?" "Hi, I'm Ethan," he managed to say. "Come in, please." Dinner started off awkwardly. Noah, ever the chatterbox, filled most of the silence with stories about his soccer games, his new comic books, and how he'd met Claire when his ball rolled into the street near the park bench where she'd been sitting. Ethan noticed how patiently she listened, how her laughter seemed to soften the air around them. Still, he couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. Why was a woman like her, well, dressed and refined, sitting in a small-town mechanic's home eating spaghetti with a single dad and his son? Claire complimented the meal, saying, "This might honestly be the best spaghetti I've had in a long time." Ethan chuckled awkwardly, brushing off the praise. "It's nothing fancy, just a habit I picked up when cooking for two." As the evening went on, Claire asked about his work. Ethan explained that he owned a small auto repair shop downtown, struggling to keep it afloat after a big franchise opened nearby. She nodded thoughtfully, asking a few questions about his business, but never prying too deep. When Noah ran to grab dessert, store-bought cookies, Claire looked around the small living room, her eyes falling on the framed photo on the shelf. Sarah, with her bright eyes and gentle smile, stood beside Ethan and a toddler Noah taken years ago. Claire's expression softened. "She looks like she had a kind heart," she said quietly. Ethan hesitated before replying. "She did. More than anyone I've ever known." There was a silence then, the kind that holds both pain and understanding. Claire didn't say anything more, but she didn't need to. Her eyes said it all. She understood loss. When she finally left that night, thanking them again for dinner, she crouched to Noah's level and said, "You're lucky to have such a great dad, you know that." Then she smiled up at Ethan and added softly, "And you're doing a wonderful job." Ethan closed the door after she left and leaned against it, exhaling deeply. He didn't know who Claire Rivers really was, but her presence had stirred something in him he hadn't felt in years, a sense of being seen. Over the next few weeks, Claire appeared in their lives again. Sometimes she'd drop by the park while Noah practiced soccer or stop at the repair shop for what she claimed were routine car issues. Each time, Ethan found himself lowering the guard he'd built so carefully. She had a way of asking about his day that made it feel like it mattered. Then one morning, Ethan's business faced a crisis. His landlord informed him that the building lease wouldn't be renewed. He had 2 months to vacate. The auto franchise down the street had made an offer, and Ethan simply couldn't match it. He was devastated. That small shop had been his only stability since Sarah's death. When he told Claire about it one evening, he didn't expect anything more than a sympathetic ear. But she listened, really listened, her brow furrowing in concern. "Ethan," she said softly, "what if I could help?" He shook his head quickly. "No, Claire, I can't take money from anyone, especially not from you." She didn't argue. She only said, "Sometimes help isn't charity. Sometimes it's belief." A few days later, Ethan got a call from a local business association. They wanted to feature his shop in their monthly magazine as part of a new initiative supporting small-town entrepreneurs. He was confused until he saw the article draft. It was sponsored by Rivers Automotive Corporation. It hit him then: Rivers. Claire Rivers. When he confronted her about it, she didn't deny it. She was the CEO of one of the largest automotive companies in the state, and she had quietly used her influence to give his business a fighting chance. "I didn't mean to deceive you," she said sincerely. "I just wanted you and Noah to know me for who I am, not for the title I carry." Ethan stood speechless, a swirl of pride, gratitude, and disbelief churning inside him. For years he had fought alone, refusing help from anyone. And now, this woman, this stranger who had walked into his life by chance, had given him hope when he thought there was none left. But it wasn't just the business. As weeks turned to months, Ethan found himself falling for her, not out of admiration or gratitude, but because of the way she treated Noah, the way she respected his past, and the quiet strength she carried behind every smile. One afternoon, as the sun cast a golden hue over the park, Ethan watched Claire and Noah laughing together by the soccer field. The sound of their laughter filled him with something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. He walked over, sitting beside her on the bench. "You know," he said quietly, "I wasn't sure about you at first. I thought maybe you were too good to be true." She smiled. "And now?" He took a breath, looking at Noah running across the field. "No, I think maybe some people come into your life not to change who you are, but to remind you that you still deserve happiness." Claire's eyes shimmered. "Then I'm glad I showed up when I did." Months later, Ethan's repair shop had expanded, now operating in partnership with Rivers Automotive. But more importantly, their home was filled again, with warmth, laughter, and something that felt dangerously close to love. On a bright Saturday morning, Noah ran into the kitchen waving a handmade card. "Dad, Miss Claire said she's coming over for dinner again." Ethan smiled, remembering the night that started it all. Only this time he wasn't nervous. He set an extra plate on the table, feeling something he hadn't in years: contentment. Sometimes, the people we least expect become the ones who heal us the most. And sometimes, a simple dinner invitation can change everything.